When you have an illness or a disease, which is a lowering of frequency, let's say it's something you've had 30 years, the first thought is, how can this body heal? But the body is a projection of the mind. You're not healing this body. So the Sophia who died still exists. The Sophia who's still ill still exists. By you changing your thoughts, your emotions, actions, and deeds, you're moving to a parallel reality where the body is whole. So, because when you start thinking, how I'm going to fix this body, then there's more limiting beliefs. You're changing who you are, who has new sets of ideas, and the body's going to be reflected based on those ideas. And that is very liberating.
Hello, and welcome to the Balance and Blissful Energies podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Elizabeth Echevarria, and I'm very happy to have my guest today, Sophia Torini. Sophia is a certified clinical EFT practitioner, emotional freedom technique for those who are not in the know. She also is a neurochange solutions consultant who trained under Dr. Joe Dispenza, and she's an expert in metaconsciousness and hacking reality. Through her practice, Tap into Your Best Self, she helps clients release emotional blocks, rewire their brains, and align with their highest potential. She also has a background in public health and trauma informed care. Sophia bridges neuroscience, energy, psychology, and mind body
Connection.
connection. Sophia, please tell me a
First of
little
all,
bit.
thank you for
Yeah.
the invite, and thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast and the wonderful bio. So, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to hear more about you, about your interest in the nervous system and how to work with it to get your clients to um, excel.
Yes. So let's start with the first premise. All disease is a lowering of frequency, right? So there's something happening in the body, and the way we react to the outer environment weakens the system, especially if the emotions are low frequency emotions. So if we're feeling attacked out there, sooner or later the body's going to start attacking us. Why? Because the body doesn't know the difference between a real life experience or an experience thought by thought alone. So we have Candace Pert, who actually proved that the body is the subconscious mind. We also know from her work that all emotions produce chemistry. Now, so that chemistry, when we were younger, we had experiences, but perhaps if there was someone attacking our family members, we froze. Because a 5-year-old, there's no way a 5-year-old is going to defend, let's say, a burglar or whatever the situation was, right? But that information remained in the body as chemistry because emotions carry information and it's energy in motion, and it's there for us to prepare us for a future event. But we're no longer 5-year-old or 6-year-old. And usually that emotion gets stored on various organs. So depending, because they have biological tracks, and in the fascia as well. So the fractal gets twisted, and that's why the more stored emotions we have, there's more twist and more torquing. And then that's why when you're anxious, you feel this knot, and it's like literally it feels like a knot
Hmm.
because the energy was twisted and twisted and twisted to fit into that space. I'm just making this story up, but kind of that's how it works.
Yeah.
So what
Can you
is
explain a little bit what you mean by the fractal? Just because that wasn't 100% clear
okay?
to me.
So everything in this life experience, because we originally, before we come in, are, well, first we're awareness, and then awareness becomes aware of itself. So we're sound, frequency, vibration. And we portray, and then we become light. So all the information is stored in the light, and the universe stores information in fractal patterns. These mandalas are fractal patterns. These symbols are fractal patterns. That's how it comes down and we decode it. And those patterns are out in the field, but we are perceiving it. So everything is a geometric pattern. And we can go to Plato's his solids. Everything is either a geometric, some form of pattern.
Okay. So then going back to how you were explaining that it's the emotions, that experience is being coded in a fractal that's stored in the.
Yeah, but it just, let's still make it simple. It gets coded in the body.
Yeah.
And so it
Okay.
keeps on getting coded in the body, and it keeps on getting coded in the body. So eventually, it's like you're trying to pack in that space more fear, more fear, more fear. Eventually, you're going to get a knot. It just, there's no more space. And that's why it feels so dense.
Mm,
And then we can't shake it off. I mean, because when you ask depression, which is anger towards the self, it feels heavy. It just feels so heavy, right? So it's like packing, 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 packing stuff in a little small area.
okay. Cool. And then go on. Then that connects with
So
EFT.
it has information for us to protect us down the road.
Hmm.
So now, but we were never taught. I mean, I'm sure you weren't. I at least wasn't
No.
taught how to connect with the body. And the first response the body does is to go into the head to explain it. And then we got disconnected. So our job now is to lean into these emotions, and it's very scary in the beginning for people. When this energy is very unfamiliar, these bodily sensations, before we even know what the emotion is, this tightness, this raw thing in the body, we just feel so uncomfortable and we want to disconnect. But it's the body telling you, I have some information, lean into it, read what it is. And if you don't like it, we can throw it away or we can transmute it. So now the body is going to become lighter. So there's many modalities that do that, but one of the faster ones is EFT. Why? Because it addresses both the personality, so who I think I am. So by verbalizing something, the younger self or whoever I think I am is verbalizing the unfairness or the pain and the suffering. And the physical act of tapping, imagine it like a hammer, just trying to break that density, that heaviness that got packed so much there. And then it moves. So the electrical system now on the body can flow because the body is a battery. It's an electrical system. How do we know that? Because the first thing when you die, they take two paddles to jump start your heart the same way we do in a car. So we know the body is electric. And that's where EFT comes in. And by feeling and allowing that version of you that survived, that's been suppressed. Because in order for you to be right here, whoever the person is that I'm working, they survived some experience. So we don't want the broken part to speak. We want the part that survived and never got a voice. And that's what does the healing. And then we integrate that. And how we do it is as we're doing these sentences, we're leaning in where the emotion is. We're putting our awareness, which is our light, to see it and transmute it. And the act of tapping now makes it move either up, down, or however it's going to move. It could move through the hands, however it's going to move out of the body. And
Okay.
often in the process, we get a cognitive shift. So let's say it was a horrific experience and you've tapped on it a few times and you say, oh my goodness, I actually survived this. I must be a very strong human being to have survived that experience. And I still have a very good heart. I still can open up my heart. And that's what we want to get to. We want to release the emotion and we want to get the message from the experience. And that's what does the healing.
Yeah. And so when you're working with clients one on one, maybe you teach them to do some of this stuff on their own. But
I
first
always
you're
teach every client on their own.
okay.
That's part of my process. From
Okay.
session 1, they have to know how to do it by themselves in between the sessions. But go ahead.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's say you're working with someone who's trying to improve their professional performance, right? Either at the company that they work in or as an entrepreneur or whatever, but they feel like they have some blocks. So you're working with them now to identify things that they didn't necessarily think were related and then but maybe are somehow related in.
Yes. So I will give you an example. If you feel you're not good enough and you were victimized, so that still shows up today. So we start a little bit with the today. I don't take them from the first session. Usually the third, we go to the past, but I always prefer working in the past, and I'll tell you why I don't go from the first. First of all, the subconscious mind of the other person is not going to trust me. The subconscious is not ready for change. It likes it the way it is. And what most people may not be aware of, even if that subconscious belief is harming you, for the subconscious, it's fine because it's familiar and it feels safe because it doesn't know what the next move. Because a lot of people say, well, why would I want to be miserable? Well, for whatever reason now, your subconscious mind and your experience has deemed this high anxiety is safe for you. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying this is what it is. So we usually clear the now. By the third session, we work on in the past. I'll give you an example from a recent, not related to work, but I will go to a professional example. She kept on attacking and attacking and attacking, literally verbally attacking and abusing the husband nonstop. I knew it was from the past. It took me a little longer with her. So there was an unfortunate incident that happened to her. I don't like to describe the incidents, but whatever happened to her at the age of 7. And just so clients know, or your audience know, I never take the person to tell me the details of the experience. All I need is the emotion and the belief, because otherwise I'd be re-traumatizing the person. So after we cleared it, I asked her, what would she have liked to do? So she physically wanted to hit and punch the guy. And then she had a cognitive shift. The exact words that she's been physically attacking her husband were from that incident, and it hit her like a brick. So she actually wasn't really angry at her husband, even though there's been experiences she attracted. She is originally angry from that experience when she was 7. And the sad part is the mother didn't support her. The mother denied the experience, which is why she felt, so there was a second layer, felt that she was never supported, never heard. So we had to address that so she can see and have a cognitive shift why the mother did that. The mother, in her own thinking, thought, out of mind, out of sight. So if I deny that this happened to you, then you would have been better. It actually caused more harm. So that is a perfect example here, but let's address it in a work situation. If you were at home and you were told a 99 out of 100 is not good, it becomes then futile to try hard because you're going to come back home and your father may say, only when you come within 120, which doesn't even make sense, right? Because the scale is 100. But I've had clients who that has been told, then I'll reconsider and say you did well in school. So now here's a person trying to set up a business, and all they know unconsciously in the hippocampus, that memory is replaying. That's all they know. So why would they bother? Because there's not going to be a reward. They're still believing and hearing that voice. You're not good enough. You got a 99. You should have gotten 120, even though it doesn't make any sense because there's emotion.
Mhm.
It's the emotion that holds the belief. And a lot of people try to do it the other way around, and it's futile because beliefs are endless. But when you master the emotion, the belief collapses because that what you're feeling is the emotion to the belief. It's
Yeah.
what dad made me feel for the 99. Well, I am sad. I mean, I'm worthless. He told me 99 is not good enough. I did all my best. And maybe you were a foreigner, let's say coming to this country, and English was your second language, and you still mastered a 99. And then your dad said, or your mother, could have been whoever it is. So you're just seeing yourself, well, I'm worthless. I'm not good enough.
Yeah, let's you mentioned so it's the emotion, and earlier you mentioned that the emotions are yes stored in the fascia but also stored in the organs. And I know that you have a story of healing as well, and I want to get into a little bit how you work with organ disease and where and have you found a particular correlation of types of emotions and which
Yes.
organs?
So I use meta consciousness. It's a more evolved version of German new medicine. So, because German new medicine gives you the biological tracks, their specific biological track, which organ it's going to be hit and what's the belief. The person who evolved it with meta consciousness, we tried to dissolve the emotion because I said the biological track has had an experience, and the glue in the body is the emotion. Let's address why it's the emotion. We have three brains: the neocortex, the limbic brain, which is called the mammalian brain, or the emotional brain. That's your seat of your autonomic nervous system. That's what regulates your health. And then the cerebellum. So our job is to balance the limbic brain, but to bring all three of them together, because if the neocortex, which is your conscious mind, and the subconscious lives in the limbic brain. So if your conscious mind is against the limbic brain is always going to win. And we said the information is stored as chemistry. It's actually a chemical, fear is a chemical experience perceived in the body. So, which is why is it important? So I'll give you a simple thing, my latest two simple things. I've had vision problems. So I do monovision. And after a severe bad hospital experience, my vision started to deteriorate. Now, I could say as you age, your vision deteriorates, but that's a belief. But the fact that it happened so drastic from 2020, I knew it wasn't my body just aging. So it took me a while to figure it out to get there. I've reduced this was +5. It's 325. And this one was 275 down to 2. So not being able to see far, I was afraid of my future. And there were certain memories that I was terrified to see, or I didn't want to see, or I did see them a little bit and I blurred them. So why does the body do that? So let's say there's a storm coming and your house is not a very strong house, or just in general there's a storm coming. The first thing you do is you close your shutters. So my body was weakened from the hospital experience, so unconsciously it shows my shutters to the world, what I was seeing to the world, because if I had received that information with my neocortex full blown, I would have had stored more toxic information, which would have probably caused my demise, because at the time I was at the verge of death. So therefore, the body made a decision to blur. So I blurred both far, both near at the same time. I also got floaters at the time, because that means I felt attack was coming out of anywhere. And then I wasn't able to see in the dark because I was afraid at night in the hospital. So as I'm clearing all of those, the floaters have completely gone. The vision is improving, but that's how we know. So you asked me, how did I find? Well, I used meta consciousness to find the biological tracks. I then asked myself, what memories do I have matching what was I afraid to see or what was too painful for me to see, so if it's presbyopia, it would be near. So what's right in front of me. So I addressed
Mhm.
each one of them, and floaters were attacks out of no. So there were some memories that I felt in the hospital. Out of nowhere, I was just getting attacked with another disease, with another symptom. As those cleared from the body has a delay system. It doesn't happen overnight. It's restoring. I also had a fibroid that actually miraculously shrunk.
Wow. And a few things just stand out. Like, first of all, that it was your illness in 2020 that, 2020 vision, you lost 20/20 vision from
Yes.
that.
So
Well, I don't know
actually,
if you
the illness was in 2006, but in
in
2020,
20.
I started studying a little bit afterwards German New Medicine, meta consciousness, and then I put the pieces together.
Okay,
So I've had the
okay.
vision problems since 2000, within just immediately after my discharge from the hospital, my vision was just getting, and I could have said, because I have an MPH, okay, it's the cortisone, because cortisone does damage
Mm,
the eyes.
yeah.
But usually the chemistry and the toxin is about a 30%. It's also the 70% is the emotional component.
Wow. Okay. So can you talk a little bit more about the metaconsciousness
Yes.
and also explain a little bit German New Medicine because I've never had that topic on the podcast
Okay.
before, and it's good to.
So
Yeah.
let's take an example, the lungs, and I can tell you from personal experience. So when I went to the hospital, without going into my details, I had high fever and abdominal pain and throwing up. That was it. No breathing issues, nothing whatsoever. And I just had severe abdominal pain and throwing up. Yes, there was a high fever, and I was actually eliminating as well. So I go into the hospital. I had enough knowledge, and they gave me a couple of diagnoses, and I said it's not possible. I work, and then they said, "Who do you think you are? You're not a doctor." I said, "Well, I work. That's my job every day." Anyway, the morphine had kicked in. I mean, it's not just the morphine, but the morphine had kicked in. And then they basically said, if you don't get operate right here, right now, you won't be alive in the morning. So this is like 8 o'clock at night. So I get operated around 2. I pretty much, by the time you went from the emergency room to whatever, it was 2 o'clock and they did all the tests. And in my heart, I knew they were wrong. So anyway, I become unconscious for 2 days. I end up with the ventilator, and then a couple of days later when I come to, and the reason I came to is because of physical touch, which wasn't aware of. My friend who took me to the hospital panicked. Here she is taking me thinking she's going to pick me up out of surgery, and here I am in intensive care on a ventilator. So she called everyone she can find on my phone. So about 16 people came, and in retrospect, it was a woman I worked for that was in her late 70s that physically washed me, and I came to. Now I'm out of the situation. I have full-blown pneumonia. Okay, so let's address it now. You asked me to address it from German New Medicine. Pneumonia is a threat to life. All I needed to hear before the surgery is you're not going to make it.
Mm,
It didn't even take hours or weeks. Within 3 hours after the surgery was 3.5, what happened is they had to close me up and they were planning to reopen me because I was unstable. And so all it needed is to hear that before the surgery. And then I had full blown pneumonia. My lungs had collapsed. My kidneys had issues, all of it. I couldn't breathe, which is why I ended up on the ventilator. And that's what it is. So the body took literally the biological track that was given to me. I didn't know. I was in so much fear at the time. Why is my body not functioning? Why I'm not getting better? I believe what they say. So now the body doesn't know the difference between a real life experience or not. I'm told I'm going to die. So the body believes it's going to die. Therefore, I get the pneumonia.
and everything else.
Yes. Yes. It goes, all of the other stuff are also injuries on top because of the medications. And then I'm keep on being told that my body is failing me. And I kept on saying, I'm a runner. I've never been sick. I'm 40 years old and I bought it. I literally bought it that my body failed me. So I was angry at my body after all the work I did, and I went running every day at 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, freezing cold. You failed me? Turns out that my body was protecting me. It just bought what I believed because the body follows the mind. And that biological track for not dying was very hard for me to clear. And the reason I teach this stuff is because I experienced it. Once my healing process started years later, a memory flashed in my head, even though I was physically still alive, that I'm going to die. And then I had an incident years later, once my emotions were coming up, that I'm going to die today. Why? Because they had told me you had 2 days to live. So they came to my bedside. And so that came up. I literally thought I was dying today. And someone that I was working with said, it's just that old memory from there. Just sit with it. And it was very hard for me to sit with it. And then it's going to clear. And it actually did clear. That was my first and only panic attack I have ever had in my life. Never had one. So the body
Okay.
stores the information. And when the right time was, it came up, but I didn't know what to do with it. I wasn't
Yeah.
an EFT practitioner at the time.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Now, okay, so these memories come up or the emotion comes up, and how do you work with it with EFT?
Well, we never take the person to re-traumatized, as we said. So what we do is we acknowledge what the person is feeling. And if anybody has watched EFT online, we always start with even though. Why? Because we don't want it to stick in our reality. Even though that happened then, or actually, we always do it in the present moment. Let me correct myself. Even though I'm feeling this thing, this fear, thinking of what happened then, because it's my experience in the now for then, and I feel it in my lungs because of whatever situation is this event that I'm thinking of. I acknowledge this is what I'm feeling. I allow this energy to move through me, and I'm open to finding a place of peace. Now, the traditional one is I deeply and completely love and accept myself. I don't
Mhm.
start people that way because I didn't love myself.
Mm.
How could and I didn't even love my body. I mean, it was just wars saying information that wasn't aligned for me. So all I say in the beginning, I mean, there are times now that I say I deeply and completely love and accept myself. But at the time or when I start with people, whatever resonates for them. So the sentence I like to use is I acknowledge this is what I'm feeling and I allow this energy or this emotion to move through me and I'm open to finding a place of peace. Because how can they accept if they have a horrific diagnosis to fully accept it? For them, they don't want it. So
Mm.
I'm open to finding a place of peace. And then eventually the body is gonna heal. We don't want to force information because you can receive information equal to your current emotional state. So if you're vibrating in anger, love is not going to be your default emotion.
That's really important because I think, yeah, sometimes people get frustrated with EFT, say
Yes,
that it doesn't work, but it's probably because of this thing that you're pointing out, that they're not an emotional match to.
that's correct. And there's two more things that why it does, and I have changed and I differ. So first of all, when you have fear, so let's assume I heard back news. So watch me. They say you're going to die, right? The breath stopped on my chest. The electrical signal in the body did not complete. That is considered an imprint.
Mhm.
So the first thing we need to do to trigger the body to know it's safe, we breathe in the belly. Because belly breathing activates the parasympathetic. Now, if I'm tapping and I'm breathing in the belly, there can't be a tiger right there, right?
Mm.
So but if I'm doing this, the
Mm.
body's agitated. I'm just tapping just for the sake of tapping, but it's not registering. I'm animating it so for people to see it. It's not registering that I'm safe. And a lot of people in the beginning, this was me. I was tapping and I was just saying the words, even though I'm so angry and whatever. It's not going to work. So I had a very good practitioner, but I modified it myself is you put your awareness where it is. And I know in the beginning you're not going to like the feeling. So maybe it's in the stomach. It's not. Okay. I'm just observing it. I'm not forcing it to leave. I am just the observer. And your awareness without judgment, breathing in the belly and tapping is what actually clears it. You're
Yeah.
entraining little by the principle of entrainment to peace. Now, you do have the right, and I do recommend when you're angry to verbalize your anger so it leaves. I want to shred him to pieces. How dare he did this to me? And what I've noticed with my clients now, I actually have them do a physical movement.
Hmm.
So the client that realized that she was attacking her husband is only when she did the physical movement. I have a woman who is paralyzed, and I asked her, what would she like to do? She's paralyzed on the right side, and she wanted to punch him in the face. So she does. And then I had her speak to that body part. Turns out she actually had done that, and she had guilt, which is why she's frozen on that side. So which is why it's mostly Peter Levine's work, some of pieces of Peter Levine's work. That's why the body has to express what it wanted to do. We just don't want to release the emotion. That's why I put so much emphasis. Put your awareness on it. Where is it? Breathe into it. Breathe in the belly so you know you're safe, because that was happening then. It's not happening now. And then what the body wants to express. I wanted to kick. I actually showed up when I was doing somatic work because I got cut open and I was under anesthesia. I had worked and I had cleared and I had forgiven, and I am doing this. I literally started screaming when I was doing the somatic work. I wanted to kick them off of me. I didn't want them to cut me. And so the body was so angry. I have never heard myself scream so loud. And this is after I had cleared all the memories. So the body still was holding the danger.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's this on the one hand, it's great, like all of this that we're learning, that we're remembering about how the body is our subconscious, how we store things in the body. And at the same time, I feel like this is still, I don't know if this is taught. It definitely wasn't taught when I was in medical school. And I wonder if it's being taught now, because the words that are spoken in such an environment like an emergency room are so potent.
Mhm.
And to say something like, you're going to die if you don't have this surgery is, oh my God, like that's, or even that just saying you're going to die, that should not be part of the lexicon of anyone working in emergency medicine, or actually throughout medicine. I mean, yes, we're all going to die. That is part, this body does not last forever, at least not the way we treat it currently.
Yes. But you brought an interesting point.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
to address 2 points on that. First of all, who is the authority? Yes, it's a physician, but it's a physician based on his experience and his background. Because then I was told for 23 days straight, every single day, that I was going to die, and I never did, even at the moment of discharge. I never did, right? Because the person who ultimately makes the decision is the soul. So they were seeing me as a physical body, just as symptoms. But my soul decided not to. And I know the reason why, in retrospect, it decided not to. I physically, because I've worked in medicine, I don't think it was physically possible for me to live having had the majority of my organs shut down, because that's what had happened. All
Hmm.
my internal, and you worked in medicine, I think my turning point was too high doses of neostigmine. I don't know if you were trained how to use neostigmine. So they gave me the first one and I had side effects, and they had to give me the antidote. But intuitively, I knew neostigmine was going to jumpstart me. And I got two of them, two doses immediately, one back to back. And 8 hours later, I came to, even though the text says within 20 minutes, I had the convulsions and the stuff. but my body started coming to 8 hours later from the
Wow.
neostigmine because it was so shut down for
Mm,
23 days. So the question I say to people, who's the authority? Right? So yes, they're a doctor. Yes, they do have more knowledge than you, but ultimately you're the only one who knows, or your spirit knows whether you're going to live. And now let's take the word for the words. So each word has a vibration. Remember, I started in the beginning, your sound, frequency, vibration. So words and the language ripples in the field of vibration. And the word death is a low frequency vibration. And if you accept and believe and surrender to it, just like the placebo effect, you're going to buy into it and you're going to die. And the thing is, I bought into it in the beginning, which is why all my organs shut down. But then eventually I probably had a negotiation with my spirit, and I was pretty much told, yeah, you want to die? Go ahead, but you're going to do it again. And I saw that what I was vibrating was terror. So my afterlife, I'm not saying there's heaven or hell, but my vibrational state was terror. So
mm.
then I said, okay, I agreed to it. And of course it got wiped out. I don't think I want to do this again. Let's just finish this job right here, right now. That's exactly what happened. I'm just saying the truth because it came
Yeah.
to me years later.
Yeah. So you have a memory of like that near
I
death
have
experience.
something like a download
Hmm.
that I was pretty much told, you're free to go. You want to go? Go ahead. You're just going to start again from the beginning. I said, there's no way I'm doing that my first 40 years again from scratch.
Oh gosh. Well, okay. Let's transition now into your work with Joe Dispenza's Neurochange Solutions.
Okay. So let's package it all together.
Yeah.
So we said we have three brains, right? So you have the neocortex, which is your CEO to control your thoughts and to get landscape right. And the brain is an artifact of the past. So we want to do is change our thoughts. So for example, what I could have said, that is their belief I'm going to die. I choose not to accept that. I didn't do that. You don't have to say I'm going to live. You don't have to go to the polar opposite. I choose not to accept it for right now. So we need to change our thoughts. And so Joe's work is about understanding how we react to the outer world. And we need to overcome the body, environment, and time. So getting the awareness, what our triggers are, what our limiting beliefs are, and what our emotions. And then EFT comes in to help you with that. So with Dr. Joe's framework, which is wonderful and excellent, it gives you what is happening internally in the body because you've accepted these beliefs or you've accepted the situation. Because its key premise is your personality creates your personal reality. How you think, act, and feel has created your present personal reality called your life. And in order to change, you have to change your personality. It doesn't say you need to change your personal reality. You have to change your personality. So it's an excellent framework. It's the course he used to teach, he no longer teaches, has no spirituality. It's a pure neuroscience course. And then you can do it that way. If you need emotional support, the majority of us have a lot of trauma, so they need some emotional support. If there's a health issue, now we can figure out the biological track from meta consciousness and let's address what hacking reality. So we already know from neuroscience, traumatic memories are stored in the hippocampus. Well, memories are held between two neurons. So our job is to prune those neurons. But in order to prune those neurons, you need to discharge the emotion because that's what puts life. That's what feeds it. It's the emotion and you activating the same groove and the same thought. I'm not good enough. And the memory replays. Dad said 99 is too low, right? Once we fully prune it with whatever modality, EFT, Joe's work, it doesn't matter what it is. Now we use hacking reality. We actually go back in time and reinstall memory with a new belief and a new emotion. I didn't say just a belief, a new emotion,
Mhm.
because we live in a vibrational universe, and this vibrational universe responds. It's the emotion that draws things to you. Now you're going to be more empowered. And by doing that, you're actually physically moving to a parallel timeline. You're moving
Mhm.
this one to a parallel timeline. And that's basically all of the stuff I do. And they all work together. It's like one package does all. And the other part I wanted to address about traumatic memories, when the traumatic memory happens, it's not time stamped properly. So there's a lot of emotions there, and it keeps on replaying in the hippocampus, trying to resolve it. It's like a record, and the needle keeps on playing on that song. But if I were to ask you, Elizabeth, what did you eat 2 months ago at 10 o'clock? You're going to say, what?
Aw.
Right. So our job is to neutralize it. So my early childhood is fading. So I had some traumatic experience, but because I re-imprinted them with hacking reality and I drained the emotion, it feels it was someone else's life. It's not mine. And the people who inflicted the pain on me, I actually been able to see them and forgive.
Wow. So you're giving yourself a new past.
Yes, I actually deliberately am giving myself a new pass. In the beginning, the hero's journey was great. Now I'm past the hero's journey. I just want to have the good life. It doesn't matter what I had in the past. The ego wants to say, well, I came from here to there. And now I don't even care what it was. So I
Mhm.
keep on giving myself the loving past I didn't have. And I want to re-imprint those so I can feel more empowered. Dad told me 99 was more than superb. So if I'm doing well in business and I got one client, okay, I'm going to get the next client and then the next one. I no longer am going to hear dad's, because now in my mind, 99 is exceptional versus the original memory. 99, you're such a loser. You should have gotten 120.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting these methods like because I have my own ways of yeah, having worked with my trauma, I guess. Although I don't, you know, I'm lucky. Haven't had like a huge traumatic past. There are a few things that I needed to work with. But I think when you're going down the spiritual path, there's this changing your personality. It's about letting go
Mhm.
of all of these beliefs and the ego and all of the, the victim consciousness and all of this stuff.
Absolutely.
And you're doing the same work, but just in a different way, right? It's like a different, yeah.
I'm engaging the body because it's the body that keeps us stuck. Let's say you're an entrepreneur and you're very good at what you do, right? But all of a sudden, when you're thinking about speaking to that next potential client, you get this unconscious nod, or you say, "No, she's not going to be open to collaborate with me," right? So where is that coming from? There must have been some experience you had to deter.
Hmm.
So, and if you keep on listening to that voice where you thought you had a gift, and we all have gifts, so there's not one person better than another. We're just dealing with the same issue from a different angle. Now you're silencing the voice, silencing the voice. Perfect example is I had to forgive myself for listening to the doctors because it turned out after the surgeries they did, I never had anything of what they said. And yet I bought into it, right? Because they said, who are you? You don't have a medical degree. But I said I have an MPH. And my degree's in epidemiology anyway. So I've worked with these people and I used to work in surgery, but you're not a doctor. So I bought into that. And look, it took me down it was a wrong turn on the life. I actually don't think this was a pre-planned experience that my soul chose. I just got so asleep along the way
Hmm.
that I made the wrong choice.
That opens up a whole other discussion.
Yes. And it deterred me for 16 years. I went off the wrong track.
Do you think you're on the right track now?
Yes, yes, yes. There's
Yeah.
2 reasons why we die. First of all, the body will eventually die. Okay, that's part of this reality. Your contract is done. Whatever you were meant to do is done, or you lost your sense of direction. Therefore, you're creating entropy, extra entropy for the reality. But in this particular lifetime, I don't care who you are, and what your beliefs are. If you wake up to remember who you are, you can renegotiate your contracts.
Mhm.
So even if you had agreed you're going to die at 25 and you're 24 and you really know who you are, you can renegotiate to provide service, and source is unconditional. There is no reason for source to take you out.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I've heard of like this concept of there being many exit points that are
Yes.
possible in our
Yes.
life. But like you said, did you accomplish what you chose to
Yes, I did.
for this
I did. I
lifetime,
did.
right?
So that was one of my exit points, and because I didn't wanna do it from scratch, I
Mm,
renegotiated. That's
yeah,
exactly what happened.
yeah.
And then I found they gave me some time, it took me a while, and I found my sense of direction. If I hadn't found my sense of direction, I would have been taken out. My soul would have worked with me
Mm,
to take me out.
yeah. Yeah. And now I'm just like extrapolating, but I think like for example, when we had the pandemic, that is also like when there are a lot of people maybe off track and it's like somehow the energy was such to bring a very big number of people to that point of like, are you in or are you out? Right? Because even if you weren't, hospitalized and intubated, being sick with this illness was at least that first year was pretty gruesome.
And let's address what COVID was, because it lines up to German new medicine. It hits the respiratory system. Why? Threat for
Mm,
life. That's
yeah.
the biological track. And let me address what you said. Let's assume there's a game being played. So you're playing the opposite team. And this is during the pandemic, right? And there's a lot of players who don't feel they're good enough to win the game. So their soul, especially if their frequency is going to drop after the game, watching that they may lose or they contributed to losing, they may choose to exit the game, which means exit the reality because they couldn't hold their frequency. Source always is about evolution, does not want you to go lower. But so it will help you to make sure you don't go lower. If you're very stubborn, obviously you have some free will, but most souls intuitively knew I can't watch what's playing out. I can't be traumatized anymore from what's happening here. And they also bought into the belief I am not going to live. So therefore, they exited. That's actually, it's playing on several layers. And remember, the reality wants the least amount of entropy. So it wants its best players in the game. So it will find other players to put on the game to make sure we move through. And the souls who were, or the individuals who were going to be, I'm not going to say the word dead weight, but they couldn't figure out themselves, their direction, because they had lost their direction, then Source said, okay, I'll take you out and you're going to go to another reality where you can figure this out.
Or in some cases, they had achieved their
Their mission.
mission and said, okay, I don't really want to deal with this reality
Yes, yes.
anymore.
I've
I'm
had
kind of
enough.
done.
Yeah, correct. Exactly.
Right. Just not to give the impression that we think that everybody who died during the pandemic was not on track, because I don't think that was true. Yeah.
And
Good.
then the people who did stay now have to work on the fears and their beliefs. And those are the ones
Yeah.
who are shaking it off now. What is
Yeah.
true and what is not true? I mean, you don't even know what to believe.
Mm, yep. That's not getting any better. It's a lot of information that is dubious, to say the least. Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you, Sophia. Is there anything else that you want to share with the
Yeah,
audience before we
no
close up?
matter where you're at, you always have a choice. So I had a choice, and I'm not any different than anybody else. And one thing that I want to plant on people that's going to sound very strange. So when you have an illness or a disease, which is a lowering of frequency, let's say it's something you've had 30 years, the first thought is, how can this body heal? But the body is a projection of the mind. You're not healing this body. So the Sophia who died still exists. The Sophia who's still ill still exists. By you changing your thoughts, your emotions, actions, and deeds, you're moving to a parallel reality, almost the same, where the body is whole. And most of us do it incrementally. So, because when you start thinking how I'm going to fix this body, then there's more limiting beliefs. You're not fixing this body. You're changing who you are, who has new sets of ideas, and the body's going to be reflected based on those ideas. And that is very liberating. So, regardless where you are, you can turn this around. It doesn't matter where. I mean, I had 2 days to live, and somehow is it, 20 something years later, I'm still alive. This was in 2006. So, right? And I'm still alive. And I don't take any meds. Nothing. There's no prescription med I've taken since 2021.
Beautiful. Yeah,
So
and just to underscore what you just said, I had the conversation in the previous podcast that there are conditions where we have like, what is it, alternate personalities or like two personalities living in one body, split personality
yes,
disorder.
correct.
And one will have like one diagnosed disease, like let's say it's diabetes mellitus, and it's clear with all of the even with organ injury, etc. And the other one will be totally healthy. And they switch just like that. Like one is diagnosably ill, the other one is completely healthy. And so it's absolutely, as you say, possible that we're just shifting realities. And there's also the cases of spontaneous remission of
Mhm.
cancers, right? I mean, it happens in Dr. Joe's events, but it also happens outside of them where people, they have the belief that they're healed fully. And if it's aligned, I guess, with their soul's plan, because sometimes it's not, but you can do it.
So actually, let's address it. When the soul fully awakens, there is no limitation. So even if you contractually had a karmic agreement for a disease, you learn to overcome it, you don't need to carry that. There is no karmic thing. And let's address, because you brought an interesting point, on the maps of consciousness of Dr. David Hawkins, the spontaneous healing happens above 540, which is unconditional love and joy. So if you can learn, which is not easy, to stay in unconditional love and joy, you will have a spontaneous healing. And if you're learning how to do it and you keep on staying there, then you may have a delayed effect. Because when you are in unconditional love and joy, you're connecting to source.
Mm.
And your original blueprint is wholeness. It's the fragmentation and the stories we believed that caused the disease. Does that make sense? So it is possible for all of that's why Christ in the Bible had all these healings. And that's why there's so many healings, either other than Dr. Joe's work, because they're Tibetan monks that have done the same
Mm.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's because they tap into that frequency, which is not 3D frequency of fear and separation. So disease leaves when you feel whole, and you feel whole to what? Whole to life, whole to source, whole to existence. You're not separate. You're not a little thing floating around in 3D. And most of us believe that, including me from time to time.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Wow. What a great talk. Thanks, Sophia.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. And can you just share how to get in touch with you? And of course,
Absolutely.
it'll be in the show notes, but
Yeah.
just for everybody to hear it.
So anybody who wants to reach out to me, I offer a 30-minute complimentary session free of charge. You don't have to, just to guide you what could be the best choices for you. I also offer a 75-minute complimentary masterclass teaching a preview of the course Change Your Mind, Create New Results, the NCS course. I also have a blog and I have a lot of free resources. And my goal is to really help people go of all these limiting stories we had, and so they can become a better version of themselves. And if we become a collective people who believe this, we're going to create a new world for all of us, not just for ourselves, but for everybody else. And then we have a support group of each other, which is why I love what I do. And I have a lot of joy when I see my paralyzed lady, her tumor now came clear. So I have a lot of joy for that. With no additional meds, no whatever, she's seeing the pattern. Was it easy? No, but it didn't take her 50 years either. So it's in a short period of time, 6 months, 3 months, depending on the person. So that's what I do, and that's how you can find me. And on all social media with the handle Tap Into Your Best Self.
Okay. It's tapintoyourbestself.com. Is that right?
The website is tapintoyourbestself.com, and then the social media is Tap Into Your Best Self.
Thank you so much, Sophia.
Thank you very much.
And thank you to all the listeners. And please share your experience with EFT or with the NeuroChange solutions or anything that you have a question about. We'd love to hear your comments and we'll be responding. Thank you.